Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano video. And in this one, we're going to look at the question of, does Cardano have DeFi, or what type of DeFi does Cardano have? Outside of the ecosystem, there's always questions over what can Cardano actually do, or does it do anything? So in this one, we look at what type of DeFi is there right now on Cardano and some of the stuff that is going to be coming down the road. I will be putting together a video series over the next maybe 2 weeks, diving deeper into each of the individual sections and how to use the different dApps and protocols that are out there. So make sure you subscribe if you're new, give the video a like, comment questions on protocols you'd like to see me dive deeper into, or questions in general about it that I can include in that course or video series. And let's jump into it. So first off, the main sites that we're going to take a look at here are Cardano Cube, which gives you a look at the Cardano ecosystem, all the different projects that are building, or the different protocols that are building on Cardano. So we're going to concentrate on DeFi here, but I will go into other ones in different videos looking at different types of sectors. Another one we will look at, and one you should take a look at too, is Tap Tools. So anyone watching the channel a while now will be familiar with Tap Tools. It's the one I use to take a look at what's going on from more a price perspective with projects and looking into wallet holders or types of trades that are happening. So Tap Tools gives you all of the information that you want, all the different types of protocols, the price change, the market cap, volumes, liquidity, and there's a lot more there when you start to dive into it. There is a pro section, which I've showed in some videos too. You can track different flows of funds and how things are looking on the protocol. Starting out, we'll take a very quick look at DeFi Llama. Across the industry, this is what people use to look at total value locked. So this is tokens that are used in DeFi protocols on Cardano. So tokens that are put into smart contracts, into liquidity pools, and then that's where the volume is counted here. So currently it doesn't count the staked ADA, which if it did, we would be a lot higher with Cardano. I can't see the reasons for and against actually including that. When you look at the TVL right now, sitting at $410 million worth of TVL, some people might see that higher if you enable staking. So this is staking on specific dApp protocols. So this is staking of their own token. Then you can turn this one on here and you will see some additions that come into the mix down here. We're going to turn it off just for this one. So if you look at the top protocols by TVL, now TVL isn't the only metric that you should use to look at activity or what's going on, look at volumes and things, which we will discuss as we go through this. Indigo protocol is number one. That's a synthetics protocol for Cardano. You have MinSwap, which is currently the number one DEX on Cardano by a decent amount in terms of volume and liquidity and everything there. That is an AMM DEX. Liquid Finance for lending and borrowing in at number 3. A-Starter is a DEX, but not a whole lot happens on it as far as I can see. I think what's included here is some of the staked ADA that's there in stake pool, so I'm not sure if that metric is fully right for them. Jed, the algorithmic stablecoin on Cardano, in the recent interview I had with Charles, he talked about there are some exciting updates coming to Jed later in the year. So it started out very stable, very safe, and they will be adding on more onto that, I think, to mean that you don't need just as much over collateralization and everything there. MuesliSwap, first order book DEX on Cardano, sitting at number 6. Fi Finance, another AMM DEX for Cardano. Wing Riders, another DEX. LendFi, lending and borrowing. There will be an interview coming out with Mantis probably later today, or maybe even before this one, talking about V2, which is launching this week, which brings pooled lending. Previously they had peer-to-peer. SundaeSwap number 10. Optum 11. Spectrum Finance is 12, and Fluid Tokens, Levy Finance, a lot of them we're going to discuss in this video. So going over to Cardano Cube then to see where we stand. So in terms of DEXs, what we have live right now, if you look at this, MuesliSwap was the first order book DEX. Then we got SundaeSwap V1, which was the first AMM DEX on Cardano. People around a while will remember there was lots of issues. That was kind of testing. That was the first real big demand we've seen for DeFi on Cardano. A lot of people trying to get in at the same time. Sat down with Pi recently, and V3, which includes Plutus V2 scripts, that's coming out in, I don't think he gave an actual date, but I would expect over the next maybe month to 2 months we should see V3 going live, which brings a lot less fees when you're trading, faster because they're using Aiken and Plutus V2 scripts. MinSwap, we said already on DeFi Llama, is the #1 DEX on Cardano right now for TVL, for volume, for everything. Really good DEX. To be fair, the team has continuously evolved since launch date, and they will have their V2 coming out soon with lots of features that I really like too, including, so they will have cheaper fees, they'll be faster because they're using Aiken. They will also be using multi-hop and different things there. There's lots of new features coming. And with Sunday Swap as well, things that we haven't seen on Cardano just yet. What else do we have here? Spectrum Finance. So Spectrum is in the process of changing over to Splash. So Splash is going to be, as far as I'm aware, the rebrand of Spectrum. Spectrum is becoming kind of its own chain then. The naming convention is just changing. Splash is going to have a lot of upgrades there too, and I will be talking to the team hopefully fairly soon. I need to reach out and try and set that up, because lots of different things. If you follow their social media, then you will see that they have talked about a lot of different things that are going to be coming for the DEX when it goes live, and a lot of big things that will be changing. Next up, we have for Dex's AxoTrade, which was the one that went live recently. This was a highly anticipated launch. So AxoTrade is very different than things we've seen before. So it is predominantly an order book DEX, but it goes a lot deeper than that. So when you look at it here, you can see this is the pro mode. So if you want to see something easier, then you can see here your straight swaps. You have your market orders, your limit orders, DCA, so dollar cost average over time. But this here is the big part for AxoTrade, I think, is their strategies. So you can set up any type of strategy that you can think of. I'm sure you could probably look to implement it here on AxoTrade. So everything from market maker strategies, spread market makers, bonk top market makers, and these are all kind of the predefined ones. You can go into the algorithm, you can create your own strategies there too. Another recent launch was Genius Yield. So this is another order book DEX, and it is fully open source. They have their market order bots, so you can set up your market maker bot, or you can set up your batcher, so it's completely open. Some of the DEXs on Cardano have closed source batchers, so you have to be part of a certain list, or they do it internally themselves. AxoTrade doesn't have batchers due to being predominantly the order book DEX, and some different things that they're doing. I'll hopefully sit down with Yarek fairly soon to have a chat about that one too. So then we also have, in terms of DEXs that are live, you have Vi Finance and you have Wing Riders, which are AMM DEXs too. You have Teddy Swap. There's been some changes there in Teddy Swap lately, so I'm not sure what's actually happening going forward. You've Occam. I think they have pretty much disappeared at this stage. You have Tangle Swap, recently launched on Milkameda, which is the EVM sidechain for Cardano. And then Blue Shift as well, which I've had the team on here. They look at kind of giving people access to different Cardano native assets through an EVM side. Denogo as well is another one that is different to the other DEXs. This is allowing you to trade bonds on Cardano. Not something we've seen a huge amount of yet, but I think it's definitely an area will grow over time. And CSwap is looking at an NFT twist on the Dex protocol. So we'll take a dive into some of them when we look more at the actual Dex protocols and what's going on. Then Dex Aggregators, so you have Dex Hunter and ADA Markets. So ADA Markets is the one I'm personally a part of. Both have built up platforms that allow you to go to one place on Cardano and get your trades aggregated across multiple different DEXs. So you don't have to go to the individual DEXs to look for where is the best place to get liquidity, where am I going to get the best price. Both will be able to split your orders out across any of the different DEXs that are there. DeFi then, we look at Indigo Protocol is currently the #1 for TVL on Cardano. This is a synthetics protocol, so anyone that hasn't used them before, then the way it works is you can go in with your ADA and you can create a CDP, which is a collateralized debt position. So you go in and you select how much you want to over collateralize. So if you put in 1,000 ADA, then you can pick how much you want to actually take out in another asset in a synthetic version of Bitcoin, Ethereum, or USD. So IUSD, IBTC, IETH, and you have to always be over collateralized. If the price ever changes and goes down, then you risk getting liquidated, but that's the way things work with lending and borrowing as well. And when we get into the series, you'll see a lot more how them types of things work. V2 is in the works and some good improvements coming there fairly soon. I think I haven't seen a launch date for it, but things in around IUSD and the peg and trying to manage things there, I think will be a big improvement to the protocol. Butane, another synthetics protocol that's building on Cardano. Definitely one to keep an eye on, I would say. Young team trying to do a few things different with the collateral, using multiple collateral types and lots of different things that are throwing in there. Written in Aiken V2 Plutus contracts. So again, should have lots of speed from the beginning. Other areas then to look at would be linkage finance, Maze, Matera, looking at funds or indexes across different assets on Cardano. You also have option flow, which is bringing options to Cardano. Tivin is looking at real world assets. There's a few other protocols looking at that type of thing. NMKR, Fluid tokens, different partnerships there to tokenize real world assets. We'll talk about them in different videos too. Mint then, currently what they have live is you can bring USDT from the Tron blockchain over to Cardano through MyUSD. Lots of other things there coming with cross-chain swaps and cross-chain compatibility. So another one to keep an eye on over there. Optum Finance is one then that's concentrating on yield on Cardano. So trying to generate extra yield. I have had Zygomed on the channel previously. And one to keep an eye on would be what they're trying to do with the Optum account and ADA. They're looking at a version of a layer 2. For me, the UX and trying to keep it so people don't actually know they're using the layer 2 is going to be important here. But if they can pull this off, it would allow for cheaper fees, faster trading, and a lot more coming for Cardano in this case. And if you look at down here, they have different strategies. Like you can put we have liquid staking on Cardano, which is great. You don't have to lock up your ADA. You always keep custody of it. There's different versions of that in the works with the likes of ADA, where you can put your ADA into a contract, you earn the staking rewards, but you can also use some of the ADA then for other DeFi protocols or other DeFi strategies to try and earn extra yield on top of that. Fluid tokens, which we'll talk about, actually I'll go to it here. Fluid tokens are looking at, there's some similarities with this. I'll have to dive into both of them, try and compare them as well, and look at what will be the best for Cardano. Look, having multiple different teams looking at options like this, I think is great for Cardano as a whole. They have Aquarium, which is looking at feeless transactions for users, decentralized Babel fees. This is something I've been waiting for to come to Cardano for a few years now. This is where basically on the front end, if you have, let's say you have Fluid token, you want to send that to someone else. Right now, you need to send a small amount of ADA with that, and you need to pay ADA for the transaction fees. But with Babel fees, it would mean that you could pay them fees in Fluid token or whatever token you're actually sending. On the back end, there's talk of different implementations. When IO were talking about it previously, basically it would happen in the back end where the fees would be paid in ADA. So the fees on chain still need to be paid in ADA, but on the front end, you would pay the Fluid token. They would be swapped in the back end. Someone else is willing to put up and pay the ADA, and they get the Fluid tokens in exchange. And that will be the same for any assets that are changed. So definitely one to keep an eye on in that area too. I think we covered a lot of the other ones here. So Flack Finance is in the lending and borrowing. So looking more at RealFi, so looking at borrow, pay, earn, and swap with crypto and fiat. Not live on mainnet yet, but again, one to keep an eye on. I don't think they are that far away. So if we look then at, that kind of brings us into lending and borrowing. We've talked a bit about Fluid tokens. So they are a lending and borrowing protocol at their core, but they're looking to do a lot of different things too. If you look up here, so we'll go through, they do have their liquidity pools for lending and borrowing. That's fairly standard. And we'll look at some of the others on Cardano in a minute and explain a bit more on it. They have this here boosted stake. So similar to ADA, you could put your ADA into these contracts. You can say you want to earn whatever amount of rewards you want to earn. Right now, staking on Cardano for you holding custody is in around 3%. Goes down slightly all the time. Once transactions and everything are a lot higher on chain, then maybe we start to see that going up at some point. You have partner chains, which will be able to help subsidize that too. So that's definitely a topic for another video. But in this one, you can put in your ADA, you define what percentage you want. And if someone else is willing to take that out and pay the interest rates, then you could earn some extra interest on your ADA. Next up, they also have another one on renting your NFTs. So Right now, there are different platforms. So like Tap Tools that I mentioned in the beginning, if you hold a Tappy NFT, so you can see here, they have NFT stats too, but the Tap Tools NFT, if you hold a Tappy NFT, you get access to a lot more different stats. Some people hold multiple ones, and rather than letting them sit there in their wallet, what they can do is through Fluid tokens, they can put them up and you could actually rent them out. So you can see here, Tappy by Tap Tools is one that's here. You could come in here and you could put yours up. Someone else can come in and rent it out for 1 ADA per day. So it gets put into the contract. So the user the person borrowing it never actually gets the NFT, but they get to utilize the utility of that NFT. And for that, they pay 1 ADA per day. You could set it up different NFTs, different prices, or whatever way you want to do it. But that's a really nice option to have. In terms of lending and borrowing, right now, Liquid Finance, like we've seen, is number 2 by TVL on Cardano. If we look at Liquid, it's like your ADA of Cardano. So lending and borrowing with you can put in any of these assets here, earn some extra APY on them. You see it split by the ADA staking rewards for this, and then the extra from the protocol. On this side, these are the ones that you can actually borrow out, and you can see the liquidity, what's actually there, and the utilization rates right now. So they are working on V2, which is going to bring a lot of really good upgrades to the protocol. I had the team on when they launched V1, I think it was. So that's a good while ago now. We're definitely due a catch up, and I will do deep dives into the protocol on how to use it, how to look at some of the V2 options that you might be able to take advantage of too. Another big lending and borrowing protocol for Cardano is Levy Finance. They do things a little bit different though. With the likes of Fluid and Liquid, there's no end time on the lending and borrowing, and even with LendFi, which we'll talk about in a minute, doesn't have timelines on the actual loan or no loan duration. So you can see here with Levy, so you can do it for NFTs or tokens, but there are time periods. So the duration of any of these, if I go in and take out any of these loans, or if I lend into these, it is for 14 days. The same on the borrow side. Obviously, these are the interest rates that you would pay. And you could set this to 7 days, 14 days, or 28 days, depending on what you want to do. There's arguments across whether you should be looking at volume or looking at TVL, or what way you should look at different protocols. I would say you don't just look at one type of a metric to judge which is the better protocol. If you look here, you can see the activity feed, see what's going on. So you can see the first few, actually the first 4 here, all defaulted. These ones here were all returned then. This is a new loan that went out, a new loan that went out. I really like the activity feed. Lets people keep up to date with what's actually going on. But there's different options there depending on what you want to do, whether you want to lend or borrow, and then you have different options to do it there, whether you want it on a time base or whether you want it on a longer term. And there will be differences in the returns you can make on it, and sometimes moving between all of them will give you, the user, the best end APY. So that covers Fluid, Liquid, Levy. Then we have LendFi. So LendFi is currently V1 is live as I record this, V2, which is peer-to-peer lending, and that is where one person puts up a loan that they're willing to put out there, the terms are set, and someone else comes up and matches that on the other side. Pools then brings it more in line with what Liquid and Fluid tokens are doing, but there are some differences in it. And I have an interview with Mantis, one of the founders behind the team, and I will leave a link to that below if you want to dive deeper into how that all works. And I should have a demo out in the next few days for LendFi too. Cherrylend then is another lending and borrowing. They did fork the LendFi V1 code because LendFi have open sourced all of their code, which is brilliant, really helps others build on Cardano. And Cherrylend have forked that and have their own lending and borrowing. Yam4, another version of lending and borrowing, done a little bit different with no liquidations, and there is an interview on the channel with the founder from Yam4 if you want to check that out too. Paribus, team that I will need to catch up with at some point, doing things a little bit different, not live on the Cardano main chain yet in terms of lending and borrowing and what you can do, but they are live on EVM and they will be coming to Cardano too. Melds are currently, the lending and borrowing isn't live yet, but on their own layer 1. So since the protocol started, it has evolved, and now they have their own layer 1, and they will be launching lending and borrowing on that at some point in the future. It will launch on Cardano too. This video is going fairly long, so we're going to cut it off now in a minute. Launchpads, you do have your launchpads just like you have on any other chain. You have Wing Riders, have their launchpad. Coinecta is a new one that's coming out. Genius is live. Some of these, I'm not too sure on them. I think Occam is basically gone. T- is a new one. VentUp, which isn't just Cardano, it's on BSC too. Lots of options if you want to get involved in Cardano DeFi. As I said, there's lots of different categories here. Probably some DeFi protocols that are mixed in here. In terms of DeFi, actually, you have Charlie 3 and you have Oracfax, which would be the main oracles, decentralized oracles for Cardano. Hope this has been useful. Let me know what direction you'd like me to go with the individual videos, looking at the individual sections within Cardano marketplaces. Didn't cover lots of NFT marketplaces on Cardano too. JPEG Store, the main one, but there's lots of other competition coming into that space too. Thanks for watching, guys. Do appreciate it. Give the video a like, share it out, let others know what is going on Cardano, and I will talk to you soon.